on Wednesday, I recorded and painted and edited. And on Thursday, I recorded and painted and edited. And on Friday, I painted until about 1:30 in the morning. I think I was done. So it was pretty last minute. It was pretty fun.
Stick 'em with arrows, stick 'em with knives and swords and spears. Stick 'em quick and stick 'em where it hurts. But most of all, stick 'em when they's looking the other way.
That is great advice, and I did absolutely stick 'em hard and stick 'em quick this weekend. Welcome to episode 5 of the Close Order podcast. I can't believe we're on number 5 already. It's
flying.
Given that we're doing them, every other week, it's ramping up quite quickly. So obviously, I've been at an event this weekend, so we're going to talk about that. And Lewis, you might have done some stuff as well. But I think the best way to do this might be, because I'm going to be talking a lot, so let's split it up and at least pretend that you're having, some part in the conversation instead of just being there to listen to me.
I'm just the eye candy, Ed.
Yeah, absolutely. I probably should have paid more for better eye candy. God. Oh well, too late now.
Yeah, pay cheap, mate. This is what you get.
what we'll do is I'll talk about my lead up to the event, then we'll talk about whatever hobby you've done, what you've been up to, and then we'll talk about the event as well. Do a sandwich in the middle.
Sounds like a plan.
So, if you remember the run-up to the first event that I did, Old World Wise, I was like, haha, oh no, I've only got a week to do things. And then I also launched a channel at the same time, put out loads of content, did loads of back-end stuff. I was like, oh, this was actually kind of tight. And there were some videos of me in a dressing gown, being like, I wonder if I'm going to get it done. And, it's fine. Like, getting an army done in a week is pretty casual for me at this point. I'm trying to not do that for every event. I want to put more time and effort into them, but it's not a problem. This time round, I was so busy I didn't even have time to think about taking funny short videos. I was just like, I'm so behind. This is not there's no humor in this. It was a case of Monday, I had a social thing that I could have cancelled, but I didn't want to because it was the only non-Warhammer thing I was going to do for 12 days. So I was like, I did that. And then on Tuesday, I hosted the 40K podcast. Or was it on it? I don't remember. It's been a blur. I was on the 40K podcast, whether or not I hosted it. And I spent a lot of that time painting. You'll see me on screen holding goblins, I think was mostly what I was painting at the time. Then on Wednesday, I recorded and painted and edited. And on Thursday, I recorded and painted and edited. And on Friday, I painted until about 1:30 in the morning, I think I was done. So it was pretty last minute. It was pretty full on, but I did get all of my... Yeah, it's a lot tighter than I'm comfortable with. And that was a case of, set my alarm for 6 hours sleep, wake up in the morning, make some movement trays because I didn't have the right size movement trays.
Yeah.
Not difficult, just cut some magnetic sheets to size. I didn't even have any cardboard to hand that I could do it for. But, it was just, I've got to get there. There is no fail state here. It is you get less sleep, but you will succeed.
Yeah.
So managed to get through. And
did you stay awake for your first 3 games on that Saturday?
I felt fine. Yeah, I got 6 hours. I've been running on 6 hours for quite a while, which is probably not great. But turns out I might just have... so if you go to a Squarebase event, they are great events. They're lovely. It's a lovely venue. Obviously, you'll all know Rob is a really nice guy, really genuine guy. Runs great events. You go for food on the evening afterwards as a group. Not everyone goes, but there were about 10 of us there, 9 or 10 of us there this time around. And for about 20 minutes, Rob evangelized at me about how I definitely have sleep apnea and I need to get that sorted. And I don't mean that in a shitty way. He was very passionate about it. And I'm taking him seriously. I'm going to go see a doctor. It's one of those that, you say an off-the-cuff comment. I was like, yeah, no, I've never remembered my dreams. And he's like, do you snore? I was like a fucking engine. He's like, yeah, you've definitely got sleep apnea. You need to get that sorted. Are you tired all the time? I was like, I don't know. Because, I just kind of exist in the same state of being. So it turns out I might just be permanently exhausted. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Obviously, NHS being NHS in a year's time if I am diagnosed and I get a machine or whatever and I suddenly have
Suddenly getting
50%
12
more
hours
energy
sleep.
all of the time. Yeah, like, so I don't know if I'm living in a state of constant fatigue or if this is just my life, if it's just being an adult. So that'll be interesting.
Given how much of a content machine you are, I'm not entirely sure the world needs to see you with all of your energy.
Well, so I don't know if it's ego or if it's just an ability to willfully ignore the negative
Yeah.
possibilities of life. But when he said that, when I was recounting it back to Scribble, I was like, give me a year and I'll be functioning at 200%. So, like, you're looking for the positives and not the fact
Yeah.
that because the way he did describe it is, do you know what sleep apnea is? It's when you die a little bit all the time. It's like, oh, great. It's because you stop breathing. That's that's basically what it is. So yeah, definitely going to get booked in and see about that.
Not breathing at night isn't good for the health, I'm sure. And it's the sort
Probably.
of thing where, like, the first event you did this, as you say, you launched the channel at the same time, and actually fundamentally our bodies are actually quite good at dealing with short periods of quite intense stress, aren't we? So we're quite good at handling that. But it's when it starts dragging on and on and on, and we're a couple of months into the channel now, and you've had another few events, so yeah, getting to the point where it goes beyond just kind of that kind of like.
Well, I think I've been functioning at roughly the same level of effort for about 4 years now, just doing like 40k stuff instead. So we'll see. But anyway, moving on from my potential not medical diagnosis. It was a super rushed lead up to the event, which is a lot less fun. I was genuinely actually a little bit stressed about getting everything done, which is the first time I've been stressed about painting for an army, God, in like 3+ years. But did get it done. Let me put some pictures. I took some videos of the models at the event, and I'll just loop that in the background while we talk about it. So if you want the full rundown of the list, I'll say it now, but there is a video on the channel where I talk about the list, talk about why I put the stuff in, and then I also do a live build along for what I think might be interesting to take. Black Hawk Chariots, lovely models, super underwhelmed by, actually.
Really?
Yeah. But I think I'll get into that as we sort of go through the games.
Yeah.
But so top to bottom, I had a Orc war boss, not a Black Orc, just an Orc, because that unlocks a unit of Ball Boys in core, so you have to take the worst one. On a Wyvern, great weapon, shield, talisman of protection, trollhide trousers, and the big Orc stinking hat to stop it from having impetuous. Basically just means, weapon skill 6, 5 attacks on the charge, plus the Wyvern, which is fine, but not amazing. And then relatively tanky, 4-up save in combat with a 5-up ward and a 5-up regen as well. 3-up save against shooting. I think it died twice over the weekend, and it was always in like the last gasps of the game. And I wasn't using it as like a full bully piece in the middle, but I really like a Wyvern. Like 330-ish points. The second I got out of that venue and got home, I was writing lists. I was like, can I fit 2 of these in? Or maybe 3.
Because it's got a stat line that's not a million miles off a dragon, but
exactly,
it's half the points.
The mount output is a lot lower.
Yeah.
The character output is a bit higher. It's not quite Chaos Lord level, but it's not far off that. But as you say, it's like 2/3 the cost of a dragon while still being incredibly tanky. T7, 6 wounds, 4-up, 5-up, 5-up.
Got all the maneuverability, hasn't it? So it can move the same around.
Fly 9, I believe it has movement 6. So if you're playing against Bretonnians and they're turning all your fly off, you can still run around. It has swift stride, so it's a really, really solid piece there.
Great.
Wish I took it to my first event, to be honest. I took a caster on a Wyvern, and that was just not worth the points. Then I've got the Black Orc BSB on Black Orc Chariot. This was incredible. This is a unit that I will be taking, anytime I'm playing Nomadic War, I'm taking it. There's discussion about whether you can take it outside of Nomadic War. I don't know. At this point, I've had a lot of people tell me both ways, so I'm just going to check with the TO.
So Rob clearly ruled it that you could take it.
Well, I was playing Nomadic War, so it wasn't a problem.
Of course, yes.
And it hadn't come up the first time round. But so it's basically you go Black Orc Big Boss, Black Orc Chariot, everyone with great weapons. Yeah. You give it the BSB, War Banner, and the standard upgrade, because the Black Orc Chariot can have a standard, and it's close order, so that gives it a static 4 combat res. You can war once per game, and for the next, until your next starter turn, you get +1 combat res and reroll once to hit, which is really nice. And I gave it Trollhide Trousers and the Charmed Shield. once per game 5-up ward if I get hit by a cannon or a stone thrower, which is really nice. And then just a 5-up regen and +1 to the save as well. Meant that against shooting, you've got a 2-up and a 5-up regen, which is pretty solid. This thing rarely died. If it died, it's because I lost. It wasn't, you basically get tabled. You're like, well, couldn't have done anything else there. Guess that model's dead. It's an incredible piece. I really like it.
Yeah, because it's really challenging because you don't really want to engage it in combat because it'll just out-static you. So if you're a dragon, especially if you're any of the undead ones like I run, like you don't.
We'll get to that.
You suffer to the combat.
We will get to that. It was pivotal in my game against Undead. Blasting through the rest, there was a level 4 orc war boss. I went for battle magic. Obviously, I've been vocal about how I think battle magic's incredible.
Yeah.
This actually cooled me a little bit on Pillar of Fire. It's still very good. I think because I wasn't spamming it, I didn't get the most out of it. What was really good was the arcane urgency to double move. Yeah. If you're playing all cavalry or having like anything fast, having a double move feels like you're cheating. It's incredible.
28 inches across the board. Goodbye.
Start something in marching column. Whoop, and it's off. Really good. You can reform with the second movement if you want to. It's just 10 out of 10. Would use again. And I also
how many pillars of fire do you need before it becomes good enough that it's game breaking?
Probably 3 or 4. You want to be playing an army where you can spam out something like Wood Elves, where you can take it as a bound spell. I think, and because you have to play completely differently. Obviously, this is a full send list. You have to play a kind of keep away list. Yeah. So this is definitely not the way to make the most of it. But I also went for Lore Familiar, Ruby Ring, so I was double fireballing people, which meant that I could clear chaff quite efficiently as well, which was really nice. Having 1 fireball is often not enough. Having 2 is always enough when you're trying to clear the light stuff there. Then I went for 2 units of Wolf Riders. One was the Skirmish with the bows, with the Feign Flight and Evasive. This is the unit that everyone will tell you, not Evasive, sorry, Feign Flight and Reserve Move. Everyone will tell you they're incredible. I was super underwhelmed. They're more expensive. They have Impetuous. I didn't want to commit more points to put a character in with them to turn off the Impetuous to think in Orc's Hat, which I was using on the Wyvern anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't see them as being anywhere near as good as people say they are. The other unit I took was a unit of 7 with light armor and cavalry spears, 11 points a model, as opposed to the
cheap.
It's so cheap. They're weapon skill too, though.
Okay.
But you can take away skirmish and open order, and you can give them close order for free.
Yeah.
And I went with that because I was thinking I'm going to use them to like hunt war machines, try and get into flanks. They were really good. 84 points for 7 with a boss and no other upgrades. I will be taking them again. If I'm playing more Nomadic Ward, I'll be taking probably 3 units of them. They are real good.
How did you get over the fact they're low weapon skill? They're not exactly doing huge damage.
Gonna hit almost everything on 4s, baby. Only charge things that you like. I outgun you, because the wolves have a hand weapon attack at weapon skill 3, strength 3, which is fine.
Yeah.
The wolf riders have it's weapon skill 2, but on the charge it's strength 4 AP 1 because of cavalry spears. They don't have choppers, but they're rerolls.
Pretty good. Yeah.
So they're surprisingly punchy for their points, and they're fast. Movement 9 with swift stride, and they have a 5-up save as well. So like you can put shooting into them, but they're cheap as chips. Yeah, I really like them. I think they are the way to run wolves, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I guess the rest of the army is so fast that it's not like you're sending them out on their own because they're being accompanied by everything else that's also hooning up the board. Yeah. So,
or because they're so
kind
fast.
Of threat saturation, isn't it?
Yeah, because you're so fast, you can use them to, even if you vanguard with the boars, which I'll get onto, you can use them to screen the boars because you can march in column a unit, yeet it forwards, turn, be in front of your opponent. They're going to have to shoot that instead of something else. And then you're like, hey, my boars didn't get shot to pieces. Or more importantly, my chariots didn't get shot to pieces.
Yeah.
Because, if your boars take a little bit of shooting, it's not great, but it's not the end of the world. If you take some troll hammer torpedoes to the face on those chariots, they can fall over very quickly. Speaking of chariots, 3 of them. Future lists, I'll run 1 because you have to have 1 to unlock the Black Orc chariot, the Black Orc character. Yeah. But 134 points is quite expensive for, and it's T5 4 wounds with a 3-up save. And that's fine against a lot of things. But if your opponent has any artillery, they don't like artillery. That's for sure.
Yeah, they'll start going down quite quick, won't they?
They are lovely models to push around the board, though. They're the converted ones.
Yeah, they look amazing.
So you'll see them as the going pass, but I will put some proper pictures up in the Quest for Hobby at the start of next month when we talk about that one. And then the sort of workout horse units of the list, there were 2 units of Ball Boys. There was a big unit of 13 in core, and they had Biggins, so they had +1 strength, so they're up to strength 4. They had the big red Raggedy Flag for a +1 static combat res and for +1 weapon skill, so the weapon skill 4. This is, to be honest, less about hitting things harder and more about being hit back less a little bit. I could see myself dropping that for a more aggressive one, because a lot of the time you're sending them into stuff that's weapon skill 4 or better. I played, I played skeletons where it didn't matter because they were weapon skill 2. I played against chaos and dwarves, which were all weapon skill 4 and 5, where it didn't matter. I think 1 or 2 games, Empire, they would have crushed them anyway. So I don't actually think I got much use out of the big red Raggedy Flag, other than the static combat res that it gave me. But, I think it's good, but I just think the other banners are really good as well.
Yeah, I wonder, do you swap the war banner with what is the benefit of boosting the weapon skill on the boss on the chariot?
That's a good shout. You could go up to weapon skill 7 and make the Black Orcs on top of it weapon skill 5. That's actually a really good shout. It does make it more expensive, but
but it's the same cost, isn't it? You just swap the 2 banners around.
No, it's 50 points for the big red Raggedy Flag because it's twice as good. Because you get.
Okay. So I didn't realize the banner costs more if you put it on a different character than the.
No, it's just the big red Raggedy Flag is a 50-point banner. War banner is only 25.
Yeah, but
you're saying no? I wouldn't put war banner on them. I'd put like one +1 strength or poisoned attacks or frenzy or something else. There's a lot of good banners. I talk about that in the video. Go and have a check out at the Nomadic War list building where I talk about all of the good banners.
Good plug. Well done.
So they are, so that was one of the 2 units. That was the Biggins. They had Vanguard, and then I had another unit of 7, which also had Vanguard. And I and and at like 11:30 on the Thursday, which was list submission deadline, midnight was list submission, I changed the banner like 6 times. So genuinely, I don't think they even got into combat game 1, or I didn't use a banner game 1. I got into game 2. I was like, "Fuck! I've got to check what I gave them," because I couldn't remember if I gave them +1 strength or poison. I just didn't. I needed to look at it because I didn't even use it in the first game. So I had the Spider Banner, which is poisoned attacks because they get 3 attacks each on the charge, 2 for the guy on the top and 1 for the mount. So that's good. Both of them had Vanguard. The big unit had Biggins. These are really good. I'm going to drop 2 units of chariots and put in more Ball Boys. I wrote a list that's 43 Ball Boys, but I forgot you needed to put. I forgot you needed to put 1 Black Orc chariot in to put in the Black Orc big boss. So I'll have to make some changes there. But you can probably go like 35 or something like that. I came into this one. I felt a lot more prepared for the event, which is nice. I'm still not like super great at the game, like by my standards. I think I'm pretty good. I think I'm fine. Spoilers for the end, I came 5th, which I'm very happy with. But then I improved, my win loss over last time. But I felt a lot more in control of my games, which was nice. Last time I was kind of just there going, "Oh, cool, you could do this thing," and this time, the competitive player from years of 40k came out and I was like, "Oh no, I don't think you can do that. Let's just double check." Pushing back, not in an unfriendly way, but just being like, "Oh no, I don't think that's right. Let's double check." And my opponents were doing the same to me. Don't get me wrong, I'm not getting everything right. My opponents were saying, "This is wrong," and I was like, "Oh wait, that's how that works. Awesome, thanks for letting me know." But it was a lot more competitive this time around.
I think we're all still learning as a community as well, aren't we? I think the game is
100%
really quite complex, so I challenge anyone to have a full mastery of all the different rules so far.
I'm in a few chats where people are saying some wild things, not in like a bad way, but just like they say something like, "Oh, that's a really good idea." Like, we're still so early in the edition that there's loads to discover. Right, so enough about the lead up to the event. Tell me about what you've done in the hobby in the last 2 weeks. How have you been?
I've been very well. Would you believe, Ed, I have been painting skeletons?
I would believe that.
More I'm at 42 skeletons complete now, so we are making good progress, and I'm still sticking to trying to paint them to a really high standard, so that's going well. But basically, my hobby this week has been, or these last 2 weeks, has been skeletons. I've played a game as well.
Nice.
Played up against Patrick from our Discord. He's a good friend of mine, plays 40k with me. And he's also running vampire counts. So we didn't do a vampire count off. I took an empire list. We played on Universal Battles and got basically utterly annihilated as Empire just run away. It seemed to be the general feel. That might be through my incompetence as a player, because I'm very used to playing an army now. It doesn't run away. You can't just charge stuff into combat against Empire counts if you're just Empire halberdiers or whatever, because they just run away.
So this is a really interesting point. If you play a faction that ignores a certain set of rules, when you come to play the game without that sort of crutch, we'll call it, it's really hard to overcome the sort of habits that you've learned and ingrained. It's not deliberate that I swapped away from a faction that had a dragon. I'd love to be playing a dragon, but I'm really glad that I did, because I think it's making me a much better player faster, because I'm not just going, I charge my dragon into things and I win combats. Cool.
So I'm obviously going to be running a list that doesn't do any psychology and has a dragon. So I'm really well prepared for the wider world of Old World. But no, it was really good. Great swords. A little bit disappointed by it, I won't lie. Charged them into a block of skeletons, lost combat, then got run down. And look, it wasn't Graveguard. It was literally just basic skeletons. And they couldn't even beat them. I've heard lots of stories that Empire not being amazing, and I can see like the basic infantry of Empire is just a bit rubbish. So I'm not clearly I'm no expert at all, but I don't think just line infantry with Empire is the right way to go. I think you have to lean more into the artillery to make that army sing, I think.
Cavalry, the monstrous cavalry and their artillery are the things that are really good for Empire.
I think the state troops just stand there and hopefully don't die enough that you can then charge into the flanks. But I did have a really hilarious moment where the halberdiers, I think it's just called state troops now, but halberdiers charged some zombies, did manage to break enough of the zombies that they crumbled away.
Nice.
And then piled into Patrick's necromancer, who was his general, and finished him with static combat res, meaning his army crumbled away. So he went from, in one position, 20-0ing me, to a turn and a half later, beating me 11-9. Because his whole army just crumbled. Apart from one little vampire left at the end.
That is a risk for undead. There is a skill that you have to really protect the general.
Yeah, and zombies are not the way to do it. Because even Empire halberds will kill a necromancer. And that was good. And then I guess the only other thing I've been doing is I've recorded my first lore show, Ed.
You have.
Chronicles of the Old World. This is a pet project of mine, Ed. So even if you think it's rubbish and no one's watching it, I'm still going to do it.
I would never say that. Not even to you. I might think it, but I'd never say it.
I've always, like, it was the lore of fantasy that got me into the game originally, got me into wargaming in general. Why I'm not like a historical wargamer, it's just that lore and the stories and the legends behind the game. So it's very much a series where I am diving into that. So we've started with Gilles Le Breton, who is the first Grail Knight, the founder of Bretonnia. Done a kind of sort of a life story of him right from his birth through to in kind of forming Bretonnia all the way down to his death and then onwards, especially in his case. So going to think hopefully once a month we'll be getting those episodes out. I think the first one is now up on the YouTubes, so search it out, have a look at it. Let me know what you think. Clearly, it's the first kind of lore show that we've done here at 6++. So any changes, recommendations, we'll take those on board. And any thoughts of content ideas or what you would like to see me dive into. I can reveal now that my next episode is going to be a deep dive into the Blackfire Pass battle, the battle for Blackfire Pass. So this is the founding of the Empire and Sigmar's kind of great heroic battle where he finally defeats the Greenskins. So that's what we're going to be doing next. I'm going to do a bit of a kind of a build up to the battle and then a summary of how the battle goes. So should be hopefully a really interesting show for people. It's a passion project of mine, so please, hopefully that comes across. But give it a listen. Let me know thoughts.
Yeah, cool. No, it's and just to be very clear, when you say it's the first lore video that we're doing, it's not me. I'm doing nothing. I have edited it. It is fully Lewis's work here, so it is.
We know who to blame.
I'm not saying that at all. I just want to make sure that you're fully
distancing yourself there, Ed, aren't you?
No. I something I want to do with this channel is make sure everyone who contributes is fully recognised for their efforts. So
good man.
This is all you. all I'm doing is, setting up some stuff in the background, which is like 5 minutes work. So it is entirely Lewis's job. Definitely worth a watch. I enjoyed it myself. Something that it even actually got me to Google him, and I'm not going to try and say his name because I'm going to get it wrong. But did you know there's a French politician with the same name as that?
Is there?
Yeah.
That never came across in my research.
No. And looking at the timelines of when he became a politician, I think he might have become famous after they made this character.
Oh, so, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so it might just be complete coincidence. But if you wrote an original lore for the Bretons in Warhammer Fantasy, drop me a line and let me know if you were inspired by French politics, because obviously Bretonnians are the French.
They are. I mean, it's really interesting actually because there's a lot of links between Gilles and King Arthur. So he's got a lot of the Arthurian legends. So the 12 great battles that Gilles fights are the same as the 12 battles. Well, obviously, King Arthur didn't fight orcs and goblins and undead skeletons, but he did fight 12 great battles as part, and that's how he got his the Knights of the Round Table and all that sort of stuff. So it's all kind of follows that, which is really interesting. And then obviously what he's doing now when he, spoiler alert, becomes the Green Knight afterwards. It's really interesting.
That is a spoiler. All right, lovely. Well, good stuff there. I'm not going to tell you what we've got coming up tomorrow, because the last time I did that, I said, "Oh, we've recorded this," and then I didn't put the video out in the right order because I had to rearrange some content. I will say, and it hopefully is coming out tomorrow from when you're seeing this, I have an interview with Richie, who is a fantastic dwarf player. We're going to do a state of play, just to whet your appetite. Over the last 3 events he's gone to, he hasn't lost a single game. And he's playing dwarves. Okay. So the man obviously knows his stuff. There is something else exciting in the pipeline, but I need to check with him if I'm allowed to talk with that before I do. So I might have an announcement to make next episode. I haven't even told you. I'll tell you after we as soon as we stop recording, I'll tell you. But the rest of the world will have to wait because I don't know if it's open knowledge yet. Lovely stuff. So let's get into the event. I think event recaps are fun if they are kept brief. I think
short, sweet, baby. Let's do it.
Yeah, I don't want to go too wild into it. So I've got a slideshow here. There were initially 24 spots. The last 2 events that Rob has run, he's found that quite a few people dropped the week before, more than he's been able to fill with his reserve list, which is a real shame.
Yeah.
But everyone who went did go, actually, the vibe here is even better because there are less people, which might be full copium, but it was so lovely. You got to talk to everyone or almost everyone. It was a nice, friendly, close vibe. We were all just in the upstairs area for 2 days, which was nice. So you could walk around and see what everyone else was doing. It was good. I really enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed it more than the first event, but it's hard to, last event I went to, I dropped all my models before round 1. I lost my dice or forgot to bring them with me. I barely knew the rules of the game. This time I came up as a fairly competent player, I think. So yeah, we'll see. So 2 shots of every army there. First of all is mine, and I've gone for characters in the center first and then a full army composition shot. So as you can see here, you've seen my army. It's been on screen, had it whipping through all of the models. That's the full composition shot there.
Yeah, she is. Look at that.
It always strikes me as wild as how few models you get in a 2,000 point list. I'm still not used to it. But I probably will bulk that out, get rid of these 2 chariots here, add another big brick of boars, something along those lines.
I love your Wyvern. Your Wyvern's amazing. It's just incredible.
It's so easy to do as well. It's I mean, I've talked about it a couple of times now, but it's the Fire Slayer's endless spells with the wings of a demon prince, and then some texture paints and some other bits and pieces. Yeah. But in the background there we've got more pig riders.
Oink oink.
A lot of fun to make. Then we've got Jack Allen. So Jack is also a Nottingham local, I should say, and I'm really looking forward to playing him because Jack is absolutely a killer. When you talk to someone and you see little bits of the game, you're like, okay, this guy's good, he knows what he's talking about. And no surprises here. He podiumed, he came 3rd overall. He's playing a very, very dirty Empire list. This is what you want to do if you want to win all your games, or not all your games, if you want to win a lot of games but also not make any friends for casual play. That's in no way a slight. I love competitive lists. it's a weird. We'll have to do an episode about it down the line, but I feel like old world players are less open to like super cutthroat lists. I love them. I love playing against them. I love playing them. I'd rather get my head staved in by a really competitive list than beat a fluffy list any day of the week. But that's, I think, coming from playing a lot of competitive 40k.
Yeah.
So absolutely no shade there against Jack. And I really love the aesthetic of his list he's gone for. It's a really dark and grimy.
I love it, yeah.
Yeah, so he's gone for a lot of these Cities of Sigmar models. I think there's the new stuff in there. You can see the cannons in the back. Yeah. But it all kind of ties together and it just feels right. And then obviously the big battle chicken up there in the top left. Great model, really lovely model, really useful as well, because this is basically a gun line with some chaff that just dies. That's basically all the list is. So you need some level of countercharge unit. You've got to have something, otherwise the list just falls apart. Moving on, we have got Oliver Jones. I didn't get to speak to Oliver, but he seemed lovely. And he has got the Tomb Kings. When I was looking at the lists ahead of time, Oliver's was one of the lists that I felt I had to really look out for. No Bone Dragon, but a whole lot of skellies.
Yeah, look at those chariots.
Yeah. Really nice list. Ollie did really well as well. I think he came second overall. We were in a weird sort of 4-way split at the end where my opponent Richie was going to the last round. Richie was the top player where things had to go wrong for him to lose.
Yeah.
I was in number 4. Things had to go right for me to win, but I could win. And then the middle two, Pip and Oliver, they, depending on how my game went against Richie, they could potentially sneak a victory.
Yeah.
So, second place, Tomb Kings. And then we had John Palmer's Undead. I'm not sure if I talked to John, but he had some really lovely models. I really like the Black Coach, not the Black Coach, the
Mortis Engine.
Mortis Engine, yeah. It's a lovely model.
So massive.
It is hilariously
towers above everything.
But fortunately designed for fantasy, so it is still, fits on a chariot, a 60 by 100 mil base. He was playing some Vargulfs and a Vargeist, which are models you don't normally see, but I'm, a big fan of just a bit of variety.
And that's 2 units of Blood Knights I can see there as well, but or are they just what?
I think they might be
Skeleton Knights.
Knights, to be honest. I would have to check, but yeah, I don't think they're 2 units of Blood Knights. There is a big brick of Graveguard in the center there, and then a couple of units of zombies, and low on the scream count. I think there's only 3 screams in there, maybe 2 or 3.
Them's rookie numbers.
Well, yeah. So if you're not going for the scream list, then having screams in the list is nice, but not something to build the entire to bang around. Moving on, Josh Meads. I again don't think I got to speak to Josh. I looked at Josh's list, to be honest, and I wrote it off before the event. I was like, oh, this will I got about halfway through and I stopped looking at it. There's no dragon. Everything was very obviously what you see is what you get. Like his characters didn't have lances; they had hand weapons. I was like, oh, it's it's whatever. I think Josh's list actually did quite well. So look at all that cavalry. I think I should have looked more closely. I think that's quite an aggressive list.
It's an elf version of your list in some respects, isn't it?
It really is, yeah.
Really fast moving.
And I really need to decide if I want to go Skaven, because I've got the movement bug. God, it feels good to go fast. But that'll be a topic for another video or podcast, perhaps. Moving on, Sammy Michael. So Sammy came up with one of the chaps that I played against from London, I believe it was. They're both very excited to be there, and I believe both 40k players. So that was quite nice. Sammy's army's quite interesting because he's gone for like he stressed the goblin green part of the aesthetic, as you can see here. Like it is bright. So as you can see on the models, I don't think he used any washes on his army, and I think that's a deliberate choice. I think he wanted to be as vivid as possible with the blood colors, which is quite a cool effect. Let's just go back to the dragon. So as you can see, dragon quite nicely painted, a lot of detail going into it, and then you've got these really solid red brick colors on the boss on the back. I really like it. I think
the contrast is so good.
It's beautiful, yeah.
It brings it really out, doesn't it? Yeah.
What I also love is that you somehow managed to get that model on a 60 by 100 base. Like, what in the world? I don't know why you'd even try, but fair play to him.
I can imagine when he was building that Maw Crusher, there may have been some swearing involved getting that to fit on his base.
I think that is a very fair assessment of the situation. So he went full fanatics. He had in the background some trolls. I believe that troll there is a giant, the one in the center, the Troggoth, and then a couple of, I think, bosses on the cave goblin, cave squigs. Yeah, something along those lines, or mangler squigs. I didn't play Sammy, so I didn't actually look too closely at this. I kind of just like skimmed it over. I was like, okay, Wyvern boss, 3 units of fanatics. Cool. I know how this plays. I don't need to look too deeply. I'm a big fan of the random movement units now, especially with battle magic. Arcane Urgency and random movement is really interesting because you can just like double or maybe even triple move a unit and then charge in the, not the remaining moves, the remaining moves phase with a unit that shouldn't be able to. So I think that's interesting. Then we had Owen Davies. I didn't play Owen, but I did talk to him a bit at dinner. He was lovely. There are 3 Empire players there. 2 of them were playing gunlines, and he was playing full cavalry.
Good
Ironically,
man. That's the
out of the 3, Owen was the slowest played, like the most measured player of them. I'm not, flaming him or anything, but like he took the most time deliberating over his moves from what I saw, which I think is so funny when you've got someone who's playing, let me move to the next slide, all cavalry. I think it's correct like as well, because movement is such a key part of this list, but I do just think it's hilarious. Go fast,
it's the sort of thing where your unit count is so low, if you fuck it up,
100%,
then you've lost. So and because your unit count is so low, you're not going to be spending the time rolling attacks and moving models that someone who's trying to move 150 models is going to. So you've actually got more time per model to sit and think about what you're doing and then resolve everything. And if it's anything like I used to play my Imperial Knights in 40k, you'd spend 10 minutes just staring at the board, not doing anything.
Yeah.
And then you go, right, I've got in my mind, this unit's going here, this unit's going there, this unit's going there, this unit's going there. Bish bash bosh, move, done, next. And you can hold that amount of information in your head at any one time. So you can plan your whole army's movement out and then just do it. But it just looked like you were just stood there for 10 minutes not doing anything. And your opponents are like, you okay?
That's where playing on a clock's really valuable. That's one of the reasons I like playing on a clock, because you can sort of spend 5 minutes just looking at what you want to do and not feel like you're eating into your opponent's time. It's just a good tip if you want to be a more, if you want to use your time more efficiently.
100%.
Cool. And then we're on to Ed Milton. So Ed was my first round opponent when I was playing. I think I've just moved that. There we go. Let's put that back where it was. Don't worry about it. So Ed was my first round opponent, and Ed was playing Gunline Empire. So something to mention, when I was looking at the lists, I went through and I was like, there's only 1 dragon here. There was literally only 1 dragon at the entire event. Yeah. And I think that's really interesting, because I don't think it's that the lists that people were bringing were bad. I think it's that people have sort of started teching for dealing with dragons and are concerned about the return fire. So, we had a dwarf player, we had 2 Empire gunlines, we had double Carnosaur, which is my fault because the guy who has the Carnosaurs, we'll get to him, I played him last event. And I was like, hey, why don't you just run another one of those things that absolutely bullied me? It's like, yeah, maybe I'll do that. And then I played him again. So sucks to be me. But yeah, so Ed Milton, lovely guy, possibly the least lucky individual I have ever met in my life. So look at this list. He's got 3 cannons, 2 Hellblasters, Empire Archers, militia that are there to just be in the way, some Outriders with multiple guns, 1 unit of Knights, Battle Chicken, Wizard, Balthazar the Gelt, or Balthazar Gelt, sorry, as the model. Really nice looking
shall
army.
Now be forever called Balthazar of the Gelt.
Absolutely, why not? There is also a really nice, and I don't think I got a picture of it. There's a really nice old Games Day model, I think it is, hidden in here somewhere, just as one of the archers. It's like a special character, but he's using it as an archer, hidden away somewhere. However, so this was just the normal. Is it called open battle? I believe the standard default is.
Plain of Languille or something.
Indeed. So basically, what happened was I knew that Ed wanted to shoot me to death. Ed knew that I wanted to charge him to death, and we're like, I guess we'll see how this goes. There's not a huge amount of, I'm going to try and use the terrain to the best of my advantage, but there's not a huge amount of guile in this matchup. It's just, can I get there before you can stop me? That's basically what it comes down to. So I put my big brick of 13 boar cavalry in the middle of the board to the right of the forest down at the bottom, basically where that bee is, directly opposite his forest. I put some other cavalry on the left. I put some wolf riders on the right, and then, there's a smattering of chariots. The wyvern was behind the building just to make it harder for him to deal with. I think I actually went like triple chariot in the middle as well, just to, go, either you can deal with this or you can't.
Yeah.
And my curse of not being able to go first continued, and Ed got first turn. I was like, okay, cool. Fortunately, Ed shot 3 cannons at me. The first cannon misfired.
Oh, no.
And he's running 3 engineers, so he gets to re-roll a misfire die per engineer. So he's well equipped to deal with a misfire, or he should be. So he misfired into a misfire. Then he rolled a 2. Fortunately, that means that the cannon just doesn't get a shoot, but, whatever. So he turns it around. Then he fires the second cannon, misfire, into a not misfire, but I think it bounced in a way that it didn't hit me at all or something like that. So did nothing. Third cannon didn't misfire, did hit me, but he rolled a 1 to wound. So the only things that were in range were the cannons. Something to note is in the deployment phase, I'd made sure I'd established that I was over 24 inches away from where he could deploy. Yeah. Because the thing about my army is, no matter where I start in my deployment zone, I will be in charge range of you turn 2. So why would I let you get 24-inch guns into range of me?
Exactly, yeah.
I actually think if we both deploy in the line, his 24-inch gun shouldn't be able to reach me. I think that's how deployment zones work. But also, if I just go, I'm 23.9 inches back, away, 24.1.
You just step back ever so slightly from the line.
Why even bother having...
on the line, you should... 12 and 12 is 24, so you will just be in range. But I think...
Well, that's the thing. Can you be on the line, or do you have to be behind the line? That's the sort of like... So anyway, it doesn't have to be a debate, because I'm just going to always be like...
a millimeter
just behind the line. It does make my charge theoretically longer, but my charge is always going to be theoretically longer, because that's how I'm going to play it, because I think that's how it works. Do let me know in the comments if I'm incorrect, if there's something that sort of stipulates how deployment zones work. But that's my read of it. Anyway, so he fluffed his turn 1. His Hellblasters were out of range because they're a 24-inch range gun. That was the main thing. The cannons are scary, but it's the Hellblasters that could just pick up an entire unit of boar boys with, relative ease that really terrified me. So he flubbed turn 1. I full send forwards. The boar boys go up into the center. So they're just 12.1 away from the Hellblasters, because the last thing I want to do is give him close range shooting, and everything else goes up as far as possible. I make sure that Hellblasters can't get 12-inch range on me. Everything else just full sends forwards. I pass over to Ed. He has another super underwhelming shooting phase. He fires 2 Hellblasters into a brick of 13 boar boys, both of them at long range, so hitting inherently on 5s.
Yeah.
He can give him +1 to hit from the engineer, potentially, but he needed that for the misfires. So, both 2 Hellblasters going in didn't kill a single model, which was just... it's what you at the table, you're like, oh God, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry that your dice are betraying you. I told him to get a different misfire die. And he's like, no, I don't think it's that. And then I stood and rolled it for ages, and it just consistently didn't misfire for me. So I think that man actually might be cursed, the poor guy.
Hates him.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was, I turn 2, got a charge in here, and just completely crumpled his army. A lot of stuff ran away as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was
it. At that point, isn't it? He's got to pick up. Realistically, if he's going first, he's got to pick up a chariot or 2 in the first turn, and then you've got to lose a boar boy unit turn 2, haven't you? Really, so you can't be hitting with 2,000 points.
No. So 14-6 win, nice, and I don't want to say easy, because he seemed like he's a solid player, but the game went in my favor very easily.
Yeah.
Moving on to round number 2, Pip Hamilton. I really like Pip. Pip and I have been talking a lot between events. I think he's a very good player. He's very smart. He knows a lot about Lizardman. Yep. Unfortunately, he took my advice, and now he has a second Carnosaur, which means I had to play against 2 Carnosaurs.
If you stack 2 Carnosaurs on top of each other, does it the equivalent of a dragon?
They punch so hard,
and is that actually
they punch as hard as a dragon, and they're so cheap, in comparison. It's into monsters. They get multi wounds from the Carnosaurs and Frenzy, and it's a whole thing. As you can see, there's a lizard mug there as well. So this was Mountain Pass. Last time we played on round 2 as well. Mountain Pass. I deployed my entire army, and Pip went just a heads up. I've got 3 units with scout. I can just put them behind you. And I deployed my character here behind some boars. Which was super kind of him to say that. And I just thought, you know what, screw it. You learn by doing. I was like, I've done it now. Like, I've committed. I appreciate the offer, but you can do the thing if you want to go for it. I said, keep in mind, I've got Vanguard moves. So there's like no way that you can position them to be able to shoot me turn 1 while also not being punished, basically, if I go first. So it's a gamble on his behalf. And I deployed first, so I was getting the +1 to go. So he put 2 units of chameleons, of skink scouts here, and a unit of 5 chameleons, which on average, I think that's 30 shots, kills the boar boy, the wizard on boar, like every time. And I did my Vanguard moves. This unit is 7 that the wizard was in front of. I decided not to turn them around because they wouldn't be able to charge through the wizard. I'd have to charge the wizard first. He'd get stand and shot. He'd probably die, so I didn't want to go with that. So I turned around the big brick in the center here, which was probably a blunder, and I think cost me significantly throughout the game. Roll off the first turn. Even with the +1, I go second. This is bad news. Keeping it short, Pip moves everything up into line of sight. We have a good chat about, he's going to have to be here because of the lone character targeting rules, so he had to stay away from my models, which actually made it harder for me to get in. And it also meant that I failed my charge on my turn with the boar boys, whereas I would have made it if I hadn't made his move his models, so that's quite funny. But he flubbed his rolls. He got 3 wounds through. I have no defensive items, but I do have Armored Hide 1 because of the boar, and I made a single 6-up save on those 3 wounds, which was incredible. So I'm just left with a 1 wound boar, 1 wound level 4 wizard. I was like, oh, cool, this is great. Comes to my turn. It comes to my turn. Failed to charge here. As I was like, okay, need to kill a lot of them. Double Fireball and Pillar of Flame do some real work. The boar moves up here. I think I kill everything apart from a fleeing unit of chameleon skinks. And, fire magic coming through saves my backside. We had a really swingy game. Had a great game. I managed to bait both Carnosaurs over to this area of the board. I had to sacrifice a boar chariot and a unit of 7 boar boys. And when I say sacrifice, I thought I was going to win that fight. I did not win that fight. So the game plan went from smash one of his Carnosaurs with the double unit to bounce off his Carnosaur, do absolutely nothing, lose both units. It overruns to here because it's frenzied. And then the game plan becomes, okay, I just have to bait the other one over here as well and just not give him anything. So I managed to run them around the board until sort of turn 5. Unfortunately, he did catch me, and it became a 6-14 loss to me just because the game went too long and I couldn't outrun him forever. I tried to double move the boar. I think it was the boar boys to get them out of there. Miscast, and the 1 wound wizard finally died. He should have died in turn 1. I was lucky to have him for that long, to be honest.
But still, that's a horrible way to lose him.
No, it felt fine because he was living on borrowed time. I got more points in that game than I should have at the start of the game, but I think after that sort of calamity turn 1, which I knew was going to happen because I was like, I've committed, we'll just play it out and go from there. That I should have got like 20 owed from that. Then it didn't happen, and there was a world where I could have won quite handily, but it swung back and forth. Great game, really enjoyed it. Then on to round 3, and I was playing against Andy. So Andy was playing Warriors of Chaos, but without a dragon. I was like, oh, that's
interesting.
Yeah, weird. So he's playing a big beta lord on a demonic mount. He was playing a level 4 sorcerer. He was playing a BSB in with a big chosen brick. He had some warriors, he had some marauder horsemen as well, and then he had a unit of normal knights and a unit of chosen knights as well. So a lot of like the less common models you'll see, but I'm aware of what chosen can do. The first game that I played was against chosen being yeeted up my line, so I was aware that it was going to absolutely ruin me. And that was going to be rough. He had the demonology lore. He rolled Steed of Shadows, and then he swapped it away. So that was like, as soon as he did that, I was like, oh, cool, I've got a chance, like a really good chance here. Basically, he gave up his only mobility, and I just played around the sides of the board, and I set up like multiple chariots in a if you move forwards, I will absolutely muller you. And he was like, this is, you've absolutely had me here. There's nothing I can do. and you let overconfidence get to you, and I snatched a draw from the joys of victory. And I mispositioned something, and Impetuous then led to a unit dying, which then meant he got to turn his big brick around, and then he got it into other things.
Right, okay.
But should have been a victory, but it was a draw. We are running low on time here, so I will just whiz through the rest of the games. Round 4 was into Rebecca. Rebecca's a really lovely player, also local to Nottingham. I thought she was going to be playing Nomadic War as well. Very disappointed to see the vampire counts again, but she was not playing the Scream list.
Made the right choice.
She was playing a list with she's been playing vampires from the start, I think. So she was playing 2 big bricks of skeletons as a front line, double Terrorgeist zombie dragon with a level 3 caster on top, level 2 on the chariot there, and then a level 4 as well, which is the general. And basically, Battle Magic Arcane Urgency won me this game because it was 11-9 win. Basically, I deployed to smash one flank, she deployed to smash the other flank, but because my boar boys are so fast, the dragon charged them, they failed the terror test, they fled, which I was going to flee anyway, so that, absolutely fine. Then they rallied, then I double moved them, and then just they eventually got caught, but they ran for so long that despite the zombie dragon running down 500 points of units, it didn't really matter because it didn't get to overcommit. And I crushed both units of the skeletons, both of the Terrorgeists, and I actually got the zombie dragon at the end in quite a fun, I got the double charge with the Wyvern and the BSB. She challenged me, I accepted with the Wyvern, but then the static combat res, the +4 from the BSB meant that the dragon crumbled, which was big because that was the end of the game. It turned it from a draw to a win for me, basically.
Yeah.
And that was on the Watchtower there. And then finally, I got to play into Richie again. So Richie, I also played at last event. I also played him in the last round. He also beat me last time. As I was saying before, coming into this, if he wins this game, he wins the event, hands down. Yeah. If I win this game like a 20-0, which is going to be hard to do into dwarves, but if it happens, I could potentially take the event. So, absolutely huge. And Richie he's a really lovely guy. He always wins, something like sportsmanship. He always wins best army. He wins a lot of games. He won 3 trophies this time. He got the best army, the sportsmanship, and the best overall, the best general. Okay. Yeah, he just got the full suite.
He's a triple threat.
Yeah, he's really nice. It's like you should be annoyed, be like, I can't be. He's just too nice.
Yeah.
Basically, we played the opposite of last time. Last time I castled up and shot him. This time he castled up and shot me. He flubbed his rolls for the first couple of turns, and I smashed into him. And then I just didn't roll particularly well. Like the initial getting there was great, but then I flubbed a couple of charges.
Yeah.
I forgot, to be honest, that I had Warband and I could have re-rolled the charges on my Wyvern. That definitely cost me because I failed some pivotal charges there. But yeah, no, really good game. It could have been like, realistically, if the rolls had gone my way later in the game, I probably could have got like a 14-6 win, which would have been really nice and probably podiumed me. But the rolls averaged out over the game. He started off really poorly and then he rolled quite well after that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a lovely game. Really hard fought. And at the end was I think a 5-15 loss because my lines just crumbled when I lost momentum, basically.
You need that first charge has got to pay off, hasn't it? If it doesn't, there's not.
It really does.
There's not a huge amount of backup there, is there?
No, there really isn't. We had some funny moments, like the Black Hawk chariot overran into the anvil. And then they stayed locked in combat for, I think, 6 combats until finally the anvil slapped it to death. Which was very objectively good for me because it wasn't casting, but also just felt so annoying because I was like, my chariot's not doing anything. This sucks. So yeah, thank you for watching. We are going to have to wrap this one off. I have to go and host another podcast in 8 minutes time. So apologies for the sharp turnaround there. But let us know if there's anything that you're really enjoying at the moment in the old world. We're having a blast with it, looking forward to making a lot more content, doing a lot more things. If there's anything you'd like to see, let us know, and we'll see you in the next one.